heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountains, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. Country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. Oh, mountain mama, Lord, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's a lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, a misty taste of moonshine, a teardrop in my eye. Country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. Oh, mountain mama, Lord, take me home. Country roads, I hear her voice in the morning hour. She calls me. The radio reminds me of my home far away. Driving down the road, I get this feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday. Well, country roads take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia. Oh, mountain mama, Lord, take me home. Country roads.
Thank you. Please be seated. And just before we commence, everyone, may I just remind you of the appropriate funeral etiquette for your phones. So just a little reminder there. Thank you. So hello everyone and welcome as we gather today to celebrate the life of Don Williams, who sadly passed away on Sunday the 29th of December 2024. For those of you whom I haven't met yet, my name is Brendan Clark. I am Don and Kay's nephew and first cousin to Jack and Tom, who are seldomly referred to as Justin and Jamie. May I commence by acknowledging how humbled I am and honoured that I've been asked by Jack, Tom and the family to conduct today's service in conjunction with Pine Grove Funerals. Thank you all. Apparently it was a request of Don's that I convene his funeral service, thus I gladly comply with one of your final wishes, mate. And thank you from the immediate and extended Williams families to all, from the immediate and extended Williams family to all mourners for your attendance this afternoon. As we congregate in large numbers to commemorate Don and to, importantly, support the family, please take the opportunity of this loving and caring environment to seek your own source of comfort as we mourn the loss of such a wonderful man. Immerse yourself in the warmth of friendship as we mark Don's passing. Ironically, grief has a strange way of tearing us apart, but bringing us together all at the same time. The Order of Service program provides details on the service, and I draw your attention to the back page where there is a thank you from the family and a warm invitation to join them and sharing a time of remembrance and refreshment at the Latrobe Bowls Club at 10 Victor Street, Latrobe, following the service. Don, I believed, would be a bit embarrassed and a little bit overwhelmed by the attendance here today, and would no doubt be wondering what all the fuss is about. Don was never one for a big commotion, and he shunned the limelight. But I'm sorry, big fella, today the light is definitely shining on you, and rightly so, as we relive your life story. Now, given Don's reluctance for attention, it is therefore appropriate to thank Jack, Tom, Alison, Brodie, Daniel, Ashlyn, Nathan and Maureen for the opportunity provided today to reflect on and memorialise the life and times of Don. So Don, how do we begin to convey what you meant to us, express how we feel and pay homage to the lasting impact that you have had on our lives? Just like Auntie Kay's funeral from a little over 2 years ago, I know it must be concise, straight up and free of bullshit. Don's only surviving sibling, Auntie Maureen Holland, summed Don up perfectly in the family's tributes in the paper when she wrote, "Thank you for being such a fun-loving and caring brother." And that is Don down to a T. Great fun to be around, with a sympathetic and empathetic nature that you could depend upon. Don's consistent persona meant that he was the same with everyone, and his demeanour rarely changed. There was only one Don Williams, and whether you were family, friend, workmate or acquaintance, we were all blessed to have known the man that he was. Leading into today's funeral, the conversations I had with Jack and Tom only served to reconfirm what I knew of Don and the role that he had played in their lives. Now, again, conscious that Don was certainly not an avid poetry reader, the verse printed within the order of service manages to capture the true sentiment of Don the father and also Don the person. The man that we call Dad. He never looked for praises. He was never one to boast. He just went on quietly working for those he loved the most. His dreams were seldom spoken, his wants were very few, and most of the time his worries went unspoken too. He was there, a firm foundation through all the storms of life, a sturdy hand to hold on to in times of stress and strife. A true friend we could turn to when times were good or bad. One of our greatest blessings, the man that we call Dad. Donald William Williams was born on the 16th of August 1942, the eldest of three children born to Derek and Emmy (nee Davies) Williams of West Kentish. As Derek, Pop, was still serving his country in World War II, much of Don's early formative years were spent in the extended family households of the Williams and the Davies residences. Now, this was a blend of the strict, conservative and more regimented structure within the Williams family, and let's say the more relaxed, carefree and social atmosphere of the Davies clan. Can't imagine that. These early family environments led to the strong moral values that were instilled in Don, but also the emergence of the fun-loving nature that was prominent right throughout his life. These exact same personality traits and values were replicated when Don's first younger sister, Betty, my mum, was born in 1947, and then again when the youngest of the three amigos, Maureen, was born in 1952. All three siblings share the most endearing personalities, playful yet thoughtful. Now, a little sidelight. Well, you brought it up. We were all laughing the other day when Auntie Morm pointed out the similarity of birth dates shared by all three of the Williams children. Now, all three were born between mid-August and early September, which suggests a special Christmas present for Derek, if you know what I mean. But the fact that they were evenly spaced 5 years apart suggests that poor Derek's Christmas presents may have been fairly harshly rationed. Love you, Nan and Pop. The three amigos, as they were collectively referred to later on in life, enjoyed an affectionate and harmonious relationship, with Don acting as protector of his two younger sisters, particularly when he had to soothe Maureen and reassure her that Uncle Claude's pigs were not going to come up the road and eat them whenever they were left alone. Don also acted as mentor when he taught Betty to milk a cow by hand, a job that they shared in the sheds out the back of McClanagan's shop at West Kentish. This amazing sibling connection endured, and as adults, the three of them enjoyed nothing more than trading jokes and laughing together. When Don was very young, he used to ride with Grandpa Williams, Steve, on the horse and cart from Roland to Sheffield to go into town. Sheffield Town then went on to become Don's education location, attending Sheffield Area School, where he was a more than capable student with absolutely immaculate handwriting. This immaculate handwriting stayed with Don throughout his life and was something he would later hold his two boys accountable for. Tom remembers having to rewrite homework that Don didn't think it was neat enough. Jack, on the other hand, didn't quite have the same recollection, as he doesn't ever remember doing his homework. During Don's schooling years, he displayed a proficient sporting ability and tried his hand at a variety of sports. It was cricket, however, which really captured the imagination of the young Don, and it was cricket which Don enjoyed a love of right up until his final hours on this earth. It was also at Sheffield Area School that a young Kay Orford first caught the attention of Don, but the wily old fox wouldn't leave his move until a little bit later on. Now, after completing high school in 1957, Don commenced employment at Goliath Portland Cement in Railton on the 9th of January 1958 as a 15-year-old. Don boarded with Kath Menzies and her sons in Railton, and thus the proximity allowed for greater access to the Railton-based Miss Orford. And soon Don and Kay officially started seeing each other and were conscientious regulars on the dance floor at the local community hall dances. This moment in time marked the start of a 64-year-long loving relationship, a truly remarkable time period. An example of the caring nature of Don was recalled by Maureen when she remembered Don getting his first ever pay packet at Goliath, and the first thing he did was to buy her a gift. A kind gesture that has obviously stuck in Maureen's mind for the last 67 years. As Don got older, he rode a BSA motorbike to get around. Don used to say the BSA stood for bloody sore ass, due to the poor comfort of the seat. When Don was old enough to get his driver's licence, he borrowed some money off Grandpa Williams to purchase his first car, a baby Austin A30. Now, the ability to transport himself around saw Don take on a second part-time job as an overhead crane operator at the Edgells factory at Quoba, and Don would do the night shift at Edgells after completing his normal shift at the cement works. Throughout these and oncoming years, Don continued to indulge in his true passion playing cricket throughout the local district, spending stints at various clubs including West Kentish, Kimberley, Railton and Sheffield. Don also went on to play a quality standard of football at both Latrobe Football Club and Railton Football Club. 7 years after the commencement of their teenage relationship, Don and Kay were married on the 18th of September 1965 at the Railton Methodist Church. Not long after, in December, they bought their first and only house at 50 Crockers Street, Railton. The house that Don was determined, possibly stubbornly determined, to stay in until his passing. Now, Kay embraced being a wife and delivered her and Don's first child, Jamie, Jack, in 1966 and Justin, Tom, in 1968. Don and Kay were content in their local community. They enjoyed a homely environment and never yearned for extravagance. Their boys grew up in a loving household with totally committed and supportive parents. The house was full of great friends and family who enjoyed barbecues, a few beers, music, cards, and a traditional nightcap. Auntie Morm referred to it as a home you could always walk into and feel comfortable. Spot on, Morm. As Jack and Tom grew up, Don was a reliable, constant source of support who would do anything for his two sons. He was always there for them and would provide advice and feedback. Sometimes, however, the advice was provided too freely, whether it was requested or not. Tom said he remembers many a time when he'd be standing in the three-quarter time huddle and he would get a dig in the back of his ribs and a voice in his ear saying, "You've got to go in bloody harder, boy." Both Don and Kay followed the sporting exploits of their sons diligently as Jack began to excel at cricket and Tom forged a successful lawn bowling career. Tom recalled the time when Don was a voice of reason and common sense, when Tom was torn between two conflicting opportunities. Tom was deciding between playing in a grand final for the local Railton Tigers or the opportunity to go for a national pairs title representing Tasmania at the Australian Indoor Bowls Championships. Don said, "I think the choice is pretty clear, son. A chance to win a flag in the Leaving Football Association or an Australian Championship." Thanks to Don, and Tom's ability, Tom enjoyed the best of both worlds, going away to win the national pairs title and returning just in time to still be part of the Railton Premiership post-match celebrations. Nice work. Obviously, as the boys got older and their sporting careers really took off, Don's time playing active sport was drawing to an end. Jack remembers watching Don playing cricket and recalled fondly the only time that he ever got to bat with his dad. It was an A reserve match for the Latrobe Cricket Club and Jack came in at number 6. Don had opened the batting and by the time Jack strode to the crease, Don was 100 plus. The Williams duo went on to bat out the remainder of the innings and triumphantly walked off together, both not out. Nice work, again. There is a great photo coming up, hopefully it's included, I'm sure it is, shortly in the presentation of Jack and Tom, of Jack and Tom in their playing time at the Railton Tigers, with Don in the middle in his volunteer trainer gear. Keep an eye out for it, and the haircuts, as we have affectionately titled it the other day as Two Mullets and the Big O. Now, Don finished his employment at Goliath in 1989 after 31 years of service as a purchasing officer and after 31 years of providing joy and frivolity to his workmates. And he moved to the bar manager role at the Railton RSL Club. Don could pour the perfect beer and spent time on both sides of the RSL bar, either pouring or drinking beers for the next 30 years. Now, Don loved a beer, shared plenty with his numerous mates throughout the years, and you were always guaranteed of a cold one in the fridge at 50 Crocker Street. Don dabbled in home brewing his own beer for a while and really didn't do a bad job. We laughed recalling drinking them as they were pretty hazy toward the bottom of the stubby, a result, Jack reckons, of brewing with Cement Works water. Don also enjoyed tinkering in the shed and produced a number of useful items from his wood-turning lathe. As the years progressed, Don refocused his sporting endeavours toward lawn bowls and enjoyed playing both at Railton and Latrobe. Don was pleased when Kay finally succumbed and joined him on the rinks, despite openly stating that "I'll never take up that bloody game." Don and Kay were extremely fond and proud of their grandchildren and were active participants in their lives and nurtured them and watched them grow and develop. Daniel will be speaking momentarily, so I will let him reference that incredible relationship that they shared. As the years rolled by, both Don and Kay faced the seemingly inevitable age-related health issues. Sadly, Kay passed away from her illness in November 2022, and understandably a part of Don's soul went with her. During this period of grief, Don was his typical stoic and resilient self, being pragmatic and, as expected, concerned for the welfare of others. Over the subsequent 2 years, Don's health continued to decline and he faced failing mobility. But true to his beliefs, he remained as independent as possible whilst maintaining his vigil to live out his days at 50 Crocker Street, Railton, enjoying watching sport, but especially the footy, the cricket and the horse racing on TV. Now, I know I've mentioned the fun-loving and playful nature that Don possessed several times already this afternoon, so it's only fitting that I close out my section of the eulogy with some classic examples of Don at his best. Well, these ones are fit for this occasion anyway. So Don was renowned for his laconic, dry wit and superb delivery. Tom says that no matter how hot the temperature was in Perth, WA, whenever Don came over to visit Tom, you could never get him into a pair of shorts. No, jeans it was. The one time Don did go near the water, he only waded knee-deep into the shallows before retreating further up the beach. When Tom questioned Don as to what he was doing, Don simply replied, "They won't eat you on the beach." Jack happily recalled an opportunity he took to turn the tables on the big fella and make Don the butt of the joke. The family were all camping at Ulverston Caravan Park and Don would enjoy nothing more than sitting in his chair in the sun out the front of the campsite reading the paper. Jack would hide in the annex and would wait until an attractive lady walked by. Normally, Don would pleasantly say good morning to the female passerby, who would often turn around and reply the same, no doubt thinking, what a nice gentleman. However, just as the female, I will now refer to her as a victim, just as the female victim got past Don, Jack let out an almighty loud wolf whistle. Wet wheel! The lady spun around to see only Don sitting there looking blankly at her as she returned a glare back towards, suggesting, piss off, you pervert. Poor old Don. Poor Don. An annual pilgrimage to the Boxing Day Test was entrenched as a tradition for Don, Kay, Maureen, Bruce and a group of others. These trips became synonymous with overindulgence and unsuppressed revelry. The 1978/79 trip seems to be etched in everyone's memory. After a big day on the beers at the test match, the group, including children, returned to their accommodation, which I have the details of here. So this was Don had this amongst his paperwork. The old Melbourne Hotel had just opened and Don's got the invoice that he paid there for $27 a night. Yep, good value. But the reason I brought it in was because it was brand new, it was luxurious and it was rated Australia's finest international hotel. Well, how la-di-da for the group from Railton. Anyway, the revelry and the drinking continued in the hotel rooms after the cricket, including what may well be one of the first occurrences of the shoey, with Don drinking beer out of the shoe he had been wearing all day at the cricket. Yum. Then, for whatever reason, Don decided he would do cartwheels down the hotel corridor in nothing but his Reg Grundies, his underpants. When poor Melissa, Don's niece, witnessed this unwelcome sight of her funkle tumbling down the hallway, barely restraining his balls in his undies, she was horrified and screamed that she was going to tell Poppy Derrick. Maureen thought, I'll put an end to the shenanigans by turning the emergency fire hose on Don. Now this of course triggered a swift and stern response from hotel security, who threatened to kick them all out of Australia's finest new international hotel. So very la-di-da. Railton style. Now, as mentioned, this trip is etched in everyone's memory, but none more so than the forever scarred Melissa. I am sure her psychotherapist can attest to that. Now, the final anecdote that I would like to share about Don occurred in recent years as his mobility deteriorated. Don invested in a mobility scooter, which allowed him to continue to get around Railton. Don formed a morning ritual of driving his scooter down to the little coffee shop on the corner of Crocker Street and Foster Street to get himself a coffee. One morning, his scooter broke down and he was stuck down Crocker Street. However, a combination of a friendly neighbour in Mary Smith and a bit of MacGyver ingenuity saw Mary attach a tow rope to the back of her ute, hook the other end up to the front of Don's scooter and tow him back home with Don perched up on the scooter. I have seen the video of this that's available and it is bloody hilarious. Don has neglected to disengage the brake on his rear wheels, so he's been dragged up the street, back wheels locked in place, his scooter screeching like a trapped feral cat, but Don still sitting in his seat, blissfully oblivious to the whole law-breaking commotion that he was causing. Brodie has the video, so if you get a chance, watch it. It is typical Don, and as Auntie Morm said, only in Railton. I'd now like to invite Daniel to come forward and share some of his recollections of his pop, Don. Thanks, Daniel.
Pop, my first memories of you are quite obviously from a very young age. I can vaguely remember coming to visit you as a young boy and being super excited to sit on your knee and watch whatever was on the TV with Nan and yourself. More often than not was the footy on all through winter and summer we watched the cricket. At lunchtime, we'd have some of your self-proclaimed best sausage rolls in the world, followed by Nan's beautiful scones. Little did I know at the time just how much of an impact you would have on me in the following years. We would jump in your ute every Saturday and go to wherever Railton was playing footy that day. I think we would spend so much time together, in the end everybody at the club, whether they knew my name or not, started calling me Don. I'm still unsure how it all started, whether it was because I looked like you, acted like you, or if it was just because I was your grandson. But as the years went on, I didn't care. I was just happy to be compared to such a well-respected man and someone that's best described as a true gentleman. You taught me so many lessons without even trying. As I got older, I realised it was the simple things in life that you enjoyed so much. One of your favourite things was literally just to sit down with your mates and have a beer and watch the cricket. That would keep you happy all day. And I find it quite ironic when I received a phone call on the 29th of December to let me know that you had passed. I was sitting down with my best friends having a beer watching the Boxing Day Test. Something you always loved to do. You taught Brodie and myself so many valuable lessons throughout our younger years, always wanting us to succeed. I can't speak on behalf of him, but I know you were always my biggest supporter when it came to work or sport or anything in between. The sacrifices you made for me went unnoticed while I was young, but as I got older, I started to realise not all grandparents do what you did for me. I got a job as an apprentice baker when I was 15, which I think was heavily influenced by the amount of sausage rolls and scones I had growing up. I had no licence and I was working some early hours. Pop would get up and make sure I was at work at 2:30 in the morning, and he would pick me up whenever I finished. And that's just one example of what Pop used to do for me. Pop was at my first ever game of football when I was 7, and he was at the most recent game of football I played last year. He was at my first ever cricket game I played when I was 10, and he was at the last game of cricket I played 3 weeks ago. For everyone that had the pleasure of knowing Pop knows how generous and inviting he was, but the support he shown me from the day I entered this world and to the day he left the world was something I'll never take for granted. Being Don Williams' grandson, I feel now comes with a bit of pressure, knowing just how respected you was. I'd like to think the values and morals you taught me throughout my life is something I'll stick by throughout the rest of my time, and one day be able to teach my kids and grandkids. You taught a young boy like myself how to be a man and how to be a father, but one thing for sure that you've given me that I'll never be able to replicate is be the best pop in the world, because that was you. All the best, Pop. Thank you, and I love you.
Great job, Daniel. Well done, mate. We elect to be here today because of our common association and affiliation with Don. It is therefore likely that Don will have touched and impacted your life in one form or another. Please take a moment to reflect on your own memories of Don as we enjoy a montage of photographs accompanied by songs appropriately chosen by the family.
Life is brilliant. My life is brilliant. My love is pure. I saw an angel, of that I'm sure. She smiled at me on the subway. She was with another man, but I won't lose him. Sleep on that, 'cause I've got a plan. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's true. I saw your face in a crowded place, and I don't know what to do, 'cause I'll never she caught my eye as we walked on by. She could see from my face that I was fucking high, and I don't think that I'll see her again, but we shared a moment that will last till the end. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful, it's true. I saw your face in a crowded place, and I don't know what to do, 'cause I'll never be with you. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. You're beautiful. It's true. There must be an angel with a smile on her face when she thought up that I should be with you. But it's time to face the truth. I will never be with you. You told me I was the one. spun. But I've been looking at you, looking closely at the things you do. I didn't see it the way you wanted me to. How's that? You messed about, I caught you out. How's that? Now that I found where you're at, it's goodbye. Well, how's that? It's goodbye. You only came for a smile, even though you're really not my style. I didn't think that you'd run me round like you do. How's that? You messed about, I caught you out. How's that? Now that I found where you're at, it's goodbye. Well, how's that? It's goodbye. Ooh, yeah. Well, I've been looking at you. I'll tell you what I see. Looking closely at the things you do. Can't fool me. I didn't see it the way you wanted me to. How's that? You messed about, I caught you out. How's that? Now that I found where you're at, it's goodbye. How's that? You messed about, I caught you out. How's that? Now that I found where you're at, it's goodbye. Well, how's that?
You almost left it for the grand finale, the two mullets. Oh, how great was that? A couple of common themes there, I think. Don and obviously Kay and everyone else around them having a great time. And also this sort of angle on Don's arm. Seemed to be very consistent. May I once again thank you all for your attendance today, and thank you also to those who may have joined via live stream, and remind you of the warm invitation to join the family to share in a time of remembrance and refreshment at the Latrobe Bowls Club at service end. As we begin to draw toward the conclusion of the service, it is important to acknowledge Don's quiet, unassuming battle with illness and pay respect and offer thanks to all those who did and may have supported him along that journey. Don, with the North Melbourne regalia in prime position there. Don, you occupied the crease for a long time. You've played a solid innings, and so many are grateful for your contribution. You were aware of the limits of your mortality and knew that your innings was drawing to a close. But rest now. The protection of your wicket is over, Your time in the material world is complete. Be wholly content that you have enjoyed the affection of a devoted wife and family that respected you unreservedly and loved you immensely and immeasurably. You have embedded your mark on so many, and so many are blessed to have your mark embedded. The committal is the end of the expedition of life and the final chapter in our commemoration of Don today. I would just like to read this brief verse titled, In Remembrance. In remembrance, you gave me life to live as I please. You gave me love and support to follow my dreams. Your beauty lives forever deep in my soul. The memory of your love fills my heart, and I am never alone. If able, would you please stand for the committal? To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose on earth. A time to be born and a time to die. Here, in this last act, in sorrow but without fear, in love and appreciation, we commit the body of Don William Williams to its natural end. And finally, as I welcome firstly the family and then friends to file past the casket and say their own personal farewells, let's say, well battered, Don. You have gracefully retired rather than being bowled out. Well battered, mate. Enjoy the reunion with Kay. All the best to both of you. All the best.
Before they turn off all the lights, I won't read you your wrongs or your rights. The time has gone. I'll tell you good night, close the door. Tell you I love you once more. The time has gone, so here it is. I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. And while you're sleeping, I'll try to make you proud. So Daddy, won't you just close your eyes? Don't be afraid. It's my turn to chase the monsters away. Oh, well, I'll read a story to you. Only difference is this one is true. The time has gone. I folded your clothes on the chair. I hope you sleep well, don't be scared. Time has gone, so here it is. I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. And while you're sleeping, I'll try to make you proud. So Daddy, won't you just close your eyes? Don't be It's my time to chase the monsters away. Sleep a lifetime, yes, and breathe the last word. You can feel my hand on your arm. I will be the last one, so I'll leave a light on. Let there be no darkness in your heart. But I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. And while you're sleeping, I'll try to make you proud. So Daddy, won't you just close your eyes? Don't be afraid. It's my time to chase the monsters away. Oh, before they turn off all the lights, I won't read you your wrongs or your rights. The time has gone. I'll tell you good night, close the door. Tell you I love you once more. The time has gone, so here it is. I'm not your son, you're not my father. We're just two grown men saying goodbye. No need to forgive, no need to forget. I know your mistakes and you know mine. And while you're sleeping, I'll try to make you proud. So Daddy, won't you just close your eyes? Don't be afraid. It's my turn to chase the monsters away. Oh, well, I'll read a story to you. Only difference is this one is true. The time has gone. I folded your clothes on the chair. I hope you sleep well, don't be scared. Time has gone, so here it is. I'm not your